I find most turn-based RPGs boring, but not this one. I recently finished Chained Echoes, and it was perhaps my second favourite game of last year, after Elden Ring, for those who are interested. And whilst there are many things I enjoyed about it, the callbacks to other media in the story, the mech designs, the gorgeous pixel art, it was the mechanics of the game that set into motion my feelings of amazement and admiration for what Matthias Linder accomplished, and what should really be used as a template for others wanting to create their own RPGs in the future. Party-based RPGs, like Final Fantasy, tended to follow a mechanical narrative that has not really diverged until the last 10 years, when Square basically gave up on turn-based systems and moved towards action-based ones that included more direct control. Whilst this move was widely lauded by fans and critics alike, some of us, myself included, enjoy the idea of using a well-crafted strategy to defeat my opponent, with time to consider my next move akin to a close chess match, something which has become less and less popular as time has gone on. There is a good reason for that though. As I said in the beginning of this video, regular turn-based RPGs became boring to play for me. Since the danger of these kinds of mechanics is that it can become very easy to get stuck into a routine of performing the same actions over and over again to win your battles. Just look at Pokemon. A wonderful idea of all those pocket monsters to be fought and collected, but the game is as tedious as the worst RPGs in its gameplay, except a very high level PvP. This is where my surprise for Chained Echoes comes in, by the way. Matthias Linder, the sole developer of the game, created a series of systems that ensures that if you do the same actions over and over, you will lose. Every battle. By its very nature, Chained Echoes demands that you pay attention to what you're doing, and requires that you change your actions based on the situation you find yourself in at any given moment. So let's do a quick walkthrough of what those are, and then we'll discuss what makes them so brilliant. So here we are in a normal battle, and you can see that there are a myriad of bars and information, including each character's health and TP, which, are pretty standard stuff in these types of games. The bottom left, you can see target information with each enemy's strengths, weaknesses, and if you can steal from them, and whether or not they can be canned. I'll get to that one later. Otherwise, strength and weaknesses for elements are nothing new, and stealing items has been in RPGs since we've had thieves, so always. The top right displays turn order, which is based on agility, another staple of any good RPG, allowing you to make decisions on who to focus, heal, etc. It's still pretty standard stuff, but honestly, could stand to be in more games like this. The top left of the screen displays the overdrive meter, and this is the one that actually matters. I don't think I've seen a mechanic like this in an RPG before, but I can bet that we'll see it again, because it's genius. So the way the overdrive meter works is as you see here. The bar has 3 distinct sections, red, yellow and green. When you find yourself in each of these sections, combat behaves differently. In red, your abilities require more TP to cast, and you can also receive more damage from enemy attacks. In yellow, your party's casts are still expensive, but enemy attacks are not buffed. And in green, your defenses are increased and skills require less TP to cast. You naturally want to stay in the green zone as much as possible, but there are several factors that dictate your position on the meter. For example, attacking and using normal skills will push the meter to the right. Being hit also pushes the bar to the right. Defending and using highlighted skills will lower it to the left. Ultra moves go to the left too. And switching out a character for another will also move the bar to the left. There are outliers to this, but to keep things basic and easy to understand for now, we'll leave it at these 5 specific factors that dictate your group's place on the board. I should also point out that going against the grain on this system is really not advised. Being in the red usually means that you have 1 or 2 turns to return to the safety area or be faced with restarting the battle, which is thankfully quick to do in Chained Echoes. The crux of this, to me, is that this system prohibits sloppy play. You must be engaged or you will lose. Unlike most other RPGs where you decide what the optimal moves in your group's repertoire are and rinse and repeat, Chained Echoes demands that you take the overdrive meter into effect, as continued use of the same moves will raise you into the red zone and you will die. This does sometimes mean that you don't play optimally, however. Sometimes you'll be forced to play skills that don't make sense, like stealing from a bear that doesn't have any items, because you need the overdrive to stay below red. The way it does this, by the way, is part of the mechanic that I haven't explained yet. In the very top left of the screen is a diamond-shaped indicator that shows the type of skill that will reduce the overdrive meter. So let's say, for example, it displays a red triangle symbol there right now. That's an attacking skill. If you do one of those, it will reduce the overdrive and then reset which type of move will reduce it further. So let's say a healing move is next. If you need to reduce your meter further, then you will have 4 turns with which to use a healing skill before it rotates again. The rotation of what the meter needs you to play, and what the consequences of not following that being so high, ensure that the player must pay attention when controlling our heroes, even during regular mob fights. I can imagine that some of you who haven't played the game would be thinking that whilst this is engaging, it also sounds exhausting, with random battles every 2 minutes being full-on fights that would make it feel as if you aren't getting anywhere. Hey, well guess what? They thought of that. There are no random battles in Chained Echoes. There aren't even that many battles in general when compared to normal JRPGs. You have story fights that appear when scripted, and when you're in open world areas. You can see the enemies lurking around before you fight them, which would be useful when you have set amounts of technique points to spend on skills. But you don't. I didn't mention that, did I? All of your health and TP resets to full at the end of each fight, even if you run away. The fights have been balanced in such a way that they will be challenging enough when your party's at 100% of their abilities. So there should be no need to rest at an inn, or use health potions, or heal between battles. The game decides that your characters would do that for themselves, without you having to click 17 buttons to do it for them. Like many things in this game, this is one of the many clever and wonderful things that has been thought about and changed from the status quo of RPGs, and it does it so well. Another massive part of this is leveling. With no random battles being in the game, just a small number of areas that enemies will frequent as you revisit them, grinding characters for skill points would be impossible. So to get around this boring mechanic, the way the player gets stronger is different than normal XP grinding. It's based on missions completed and your completion of the story. Each time you finish a story mission or a side mission, each of your characters will receive a skill point, to be spent in the skill menu on new abilities. Whether they are usable skill moves like a spell or ability, passives like more damage versus human targets or elemental resistances, or straight stat boosts. Every character has a set amount of skills to choose from, with more powerful abilities revealed once a certain number of earlier skills have been unlocked, making sure you don't just pick the good ones early and break the game. You also get given statutory sets of stat boosts each 5 skills learned, meaning that you don't miss out on stats if you just want to learn your active abilities first. What ends up happening is that each new area you move into feels about as difficult as the previous one, with a very steady curve of difficulty only really peaking toward the end of the game. There is an element of grinding that can be done in Chained Echoes though. That is with skill points. These points are used to make each of your skills more effective from levels 1 to 3. For example, this crossblade skill deals 0.6 times damage each hit at level 1. At level 3, the damage is increased to 0.8 each hit, which is a massive increase toward the end of the game when naturally the numbers get higher. Skill points are gained from victories in battle, so if you're struggling with a particular fight, there are options to grind it out. Although, honestly, grinding is probably the least effective way to get around it. Much more effective would be to use the crafting to create a new weapon with affinities like extra damage to enemies weak to light, etc. These crafting options are made by fusing crystals to your weapons and armor, with said crystals found throughout the world and in plentiful supply. This plethora of options and mechanics is quite simply fantastic and best in its class. I can't remember the last time I saw any indie RPG with systems this well made. Well, I don't know, perhaps something like Hades or Slay the Spire, but we're talking the names of gods, giants among the field now. So that tells you what kind of company this game keeps. I didn't even have a chance to talk about the mech combat, which changes everything again, and just as well, by the way. It's completely different than the normal combat, but it feels good too. It feels amazing even. Look, if you're into systems and mechanics and how things tick, or amazing artwork and just, I don't know, I'm running out of superlatives now, you should play this game. It's great, it's amazing, it's the way that all innovative RPGs should be made. Really. It's even on all consoles and PC, as well as Game Pass. Find it, play it, enjoy it. That's my advice for you. If you like this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. This channel attempts to cover RPGs in general, but mostly strategy RPGs and strategy RPG news. So keep an eye on us for all of that. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.